Okay, guys, I'm not exactly sure what happened there. It seems like I got kicked off of YouTube for some reason from the streaming platform that I'm on. I'm sorry. I kind of feel like I have to restart this, so maybe this will be a little bit better the second time. But either way, what's up, everyone? It's Thomas with Real Broker, coming at you live every Wednesday at 8 p.m., going over the market stats, news you need to know about, everything about buying, selling, or investing here in Northeastern Florida. And we're also doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions about anything I cover here, throw them in the comments below. Seems like we had some technical difficulties there, so throwing me off my game just slightly, but let's see if we can get back on it. We're going to cover some of the things that I just covered previously. We're going to talk about it here, okay? So let me try to make this work again. All right, so this is one of the biggest graphs that I think people need to take a look at is delinquency rate on single family homes. I've talked to buyers. Obviously, I'm talking to buyers all the time, buyers and sellers, about what they want to do here in the market. And one of the biggest concerns is like, hey, is it a good time to buy a house? And of course, every realtor says, oh, wait, no, best time to buy a house was yesterday, second best time is today, right? That's the realtor adage, right? And they're not technically wrong, right? Real estate prices tend to rise, right? And we can look at that through historical data, and it's a pretty safe investment. Don't sway in big amounts very quickly. Real estate is a very slow-moving asset. So the biggest thing that's been going around social media recently is this image of delinquency for mortgages on multifamily homes. And that's the one key thing that most people don't realize is that it's on multifamily homes. So we're talking about more or less investors, right? This is a measurement of single family homes and where the delinquency rate is at. So I want you guys to take a look at this. Let me know what you think about it, but this is where we are. So it goes all the way back to, 1991. Shows you the mortgage delinquency rate. Obviously, once we hit 2007, 2008, 2009, peaked in 2010 with almost 12% of people delinquent on their mortgage. And then back in 2020, we saw a little pop, but really in this time, there was a moratorium on what you could do. So no foreclosures or anything were happening. And then, of course, we saw our real estate market go crazy because interest rates were 2%. So now we have a delinquency rate of 1.78, up from quarter 4 of 2024 by 0.01. Let's see, up from, let's go to quarter 2 of 2023, 0.06 from 2023. So not a significant amount of changes in the real estate market here in terms of like delinquency. So I think that's a really good indicator and something to take a look at and just be like, okay, so how is the housing market? Are people underwater on their houses? And there are some people that are, 100%, don't get me wrong. But the only people that really need to be concerned with that are people that bought in like 22, 23, 24, and 25, right? If they needed to sell today. I mean, even if they bought this year, right? The prices haven't gone anywhere. Our market's moved this way, especially here in Northeastern Florida. Other places are different, right? But here in Northeastern Florida, our market went here to 2022, went straight up, and then flatlined. And that's because we saw mortgage interest rates increase significantly within that time, and that followed the federal funds rate trying to fight inflation because inflation was crazy through 2021, 2022, and 23. That's what they were trying to do, is fight inflation, so they raised the federal funds rate in order to do that. So the people who could potentially be in trouble and would be a potential candidate for being delinquent on their mortgage would be someone that bought a house in 2022, 23, or 24, because our market really hasn't changed that much. If you got in a position where you're like, hey, I can't afford to pay my mortgage anymore, you could sell, right? But if you bought a home for $500,000 and the price of the home is still $500,000, there's not a whole bunch of wiggle room for you in terms of like what you're going to net, what you're going to walk away with. And at the end of the day, like, it's going to cost you money to sell. You got to pay realtor fees, but you also have to pay taxes and other fees along with that. So it's going to cost you a significant amount of money to sell. You're probably not going to walk away with much. So that's the problem, right? Is the people who bought these past couple years could potentially be in trouble in the future if the economy were to take a complete dump, right? No one wants that. But everyone who pretty much bought prior to 2022 is sitting really pretty. And that's the hard thing, is anyone who bought prior to 2020, let's say, they bought a home for much less. In our area here, prices have gone up 60% since 2020. 60%. The median sale price was $330,000 in St. Johns County in 2020. It's now like $510,000. Okay, so it's gone up a huge amount. So if you bought a house in 2020, you pretty much got like $200,000 of wiggle room. You're good. You know, you don't got to worry about it. Aside from that, anyone who bought a home prior to 2022 when interest rates went up refinanced their mortgage, right? So their mortgage was, you know, and I'm going to sound like a broken record if you guys already watched the previous live stream that got cut off, but I ran into a guy at a party just a little bit ago who had a mortgage of 2.1%, right? And like, he's never going to see that again, and his payment is so ridiculously low. Like, I wish I had that mortgage payment, right? That'd be amazing. I would never, I mean, I'm not going to sell this house anyway, but like, I would never sell this house. I bought a house in 2023 to 7% interest rate. So I could potentially be one of those people that like, where it's going to be tougher for me to make money if I needed to sell today. If I sold today, I might squeak by with a small profit, right? But not anything worth it to me to sell. But let's say if I got into a major accident and I lost my ability to get on YouTube and talk and do my job, right? I may have to sell my house, right? God forbid that happens. But I'm not going to make any money. If anything, I might have to bring money to the table just so I can close on my house and not have to worry about the debt. Anyone prior to 2022, for the most part, are good because they're sitting on, if they bought, they're probably sitting on 30% equity if they bought in 2022. 2020 or prior to 2020, they're sitting on 60%. Prior to 2020, before that, they're sitting on a ton of money, right? So it's like, okay, hey, I got to lower the price on what I want. Let's say the market starts going down, they just got to lower the price. They're going to still walk away with a ton of equity, so they're going to be good. So it's I think this graph here is a good one that says like, oh, hey, the sky isn't falling, right? We're going to cover a news story here, which I tied in a lot better the first time around. If you guys were there, you'd understand. But we're going to look at this next news story, which talks about the total market in terms of how many sellers are making price reductions. And now it's like 56% of all sellers 56% of all homes are selling less than their asking price, right? So let's hop into that. Guys, if you hopped on to the second live stream, I appreciate it. I don't know what happened there. It just seemed to technical difficulties, I guess. But this is Realtor.com. More than half of homes are selling below asking price. 56% of homes, where's it at? 56% of homes selling below their asking price in May, the report found. The median closing price for that month came in $45,000 lower than the typical list price, according to Cotality, signaling greater pressure on sellers to make concessions. Despite the modest price relief, homebuyers need $200,000 more to buy the median home price than they would have 10 years ago, a burden that is keeping buyers on the sidelines. So that's a perfect example of what I was talking about. Like, if you bought a home 10 years ago, you're sitting on probably $200,000 worth of equity because it's just gotten that much more expensive nationally, right, to buy a house. So what we're seeing here is like, hey, the market's kind of at this point, the economy, it seems like it's kind of flatlined, right? Because there's all these things going on with like new president, tariffs, uncertainty, wars, you name it, we got it. Protests, it seems like I can't even watch the news anymore. Honestly, I like it. It drives me insane. But aside from that, you know, people want to make a decision. They want to buy a house, but they're looking at the interest rate and they're like, man, 7%, that's not great. We have had some great traction on interest rates these past couple weeks. Conventionals coming in at like 6.5%. They are expecting the Fed to do a rate cut because inflation's remained the same. It's at 2.7%. But the jobs report came in weak, so they are expecting a rate cut for next month. We'll see what happens, of course, and that could indirectly affect mortgage rates. So that's going to bring more buyers back into the market. But we're entering, especially in our area here, we're entering into the slow season, right? Summer is really the peak. Then we hit September, October. September and October are slow. That's when realtors go on vacation. Matter of fact, realtors go on vacation in August, outside of me. Well, no, that's not true. I'm going on vacation in the month. But I'm still working, even though every time a realtor goes on vacation, we get busier. That's how it works. So maybe I should just go more often. But either way, October, September, it's the slowest point of the year, and you're going to have interest rates start to come down. So there's going to be a good bit of activity, I think, towards this end of the year. We'll see what happens, but I think it's probably going to outpace not our regular historical averages, but maybe last year, where last year was extremely slow, right? This year has been extremely slow. We're actually outpacing last year in terms of closings nationally, in terms of closings, slower this year than it was last year, right? So there's got to be a point where 2022 is slow. I believe we've been in a housing real estate recession since 2022. 2022, 2023, 2024, all slow years. 2025 is going to be a slow year as well, I believe. So we'll see what happens, guys. What do you guys think about this? What do you feel like? Are you looking to buy a home right now? Do you have concerns about the real estate market? There are some things to be worried about, right? Now, I'm going to pull this up here. I think they have it on here. Now, this is one of the news stories we see all the time. Texas and Florida seeing some of the largest year-over-year increases in inventory. In Florida, Naples saw the biggest annual decline in home prices, fell 15% as sales dropped 29% and inventory rose 58%. Now, those numbers are... Oh, I wasn't even sharing my screen. Bummer. Those numbers are very concerning, right? Because you look at that and you're like, man, 15% down in a year, that's pretty drastic. And it is. But South Florida and North Florida are two different places. I actually have a video coming out this Saturday about that. They're two different places. South Florida gets hit with a ton of the prices are more expensive in South Florida in general, but aside from that, their insurance issues are bigger because they get hit with hurricanes a lot more than we get hit with hurricanes up here in northeastern Florida. They have a whole different building code and everything. So on top of all that, they have a ton of condos down there. It's just more of a metropolitan area versus North Florida, which is more rural. They have a lot more condos there, and that's one of the biggest issues we're seeing right now is in the condo market because of issues related to legislation and also insurance. Now, we all know insurance is a problem here in the state of Florida because of the hurricanes that we have. So that's caused the master policy for condo associations to go up so that they can pay for it. Now, to top it all off, you also have the new legislation that came out from the state in 2022 that happened after the Surfside collapse, where a condo building fell and killed like 100 people, which that should never happen. But it essentially came out and said, hey, any condo building over 3 stories high, you need to have, after, I think it's 20 years, don't quote me on this, I think it's 20 years. After 20 years, you need to have a structural integrity inspection, and then every 10 years after. And then aside from that, every reserve for every condo building needs to be fully funded. And that's where it's put all these condo owners in this box like, hey, we can't afford to do that, right? Like, and this is the best description I can give you. Like, if you own a house today, are you saving for the roof that you have right now? Are you going to, like, hey, it's going to cost you 20 grand to put a roof on in 15 to 20 years. Are you keeping that 20 grand in your pocket right now and just like, hey, we got this 20 grand, we're ready for it? Oh, on top of that, we got the repairs also for the AC that's going to go out in 10 years. That's going to be another 10. So we got 30 grand here. Oh, and then we also have this maintenance as well. That makes no sense. It's a climbing scale, right? So like you do repairs as you go, and they're all based on timelines for the average lifespan of a roof, stucco, AC. To have all that money right now it doesn't make good sense. Does that make sense to you guys? I might have jumped around there. The stream canceling really threw me off. I'm sorry about that. But either way, guys, any questions about that, about what's going on in Florida's market? Northeastern Florida, we're definitely seeing inventory rise. It has seemed to kind of level off a little bit. Let me see if I can pull this up quick, actually. As in, it's not going up as drastically, which is good. That's what we want to see, because it's already gone up a good bit, right? But it's not. It seems like it's starting to level off, but closings are down and prices are down, right? So, but they're not anything wild, you know. Like Naples, 15%. That's huge. That's a big decline in pricing. That's something to be concerned about. Excuse me. This is all of northeastern Florida here, down 2.7%. So, to me, this looks like, yeah, we're in a down market. Like I said, since 2022, it's really been sideways. Hasn't really done much. Hasn't gone up, hasn't gone down. So this seems to be the new normal, right? Unless some black swan event happens here in northeastern Florida. And then I can take a look, and I know, because someone will be like, oh, we didn't show St. John's, and da-da-da. I'll show you. Let's take a look. St. John's down 3.2%. 540,000 in July, down 500. You know, obviously that's 20 grand. I'm not saying that's not a lot of money, but when we're talking about these huge numbers, the percentage of 3%, give or take on a year or so, is really not that drastic of a swing. 15%, that's something to worry about. Now, other thing here, and this is, you know, we talk about our market being cyclical, and having a seasonality to it. You see here January 482, and it's gone up since then. So essentially, if you bought in January, by the middle of the year, you're up almost $45,000, right? That's pretty amazing. But as you can see, we have peaks and valleys. It's going to go down, right? So we'll see how September ends. We'll see how August ends. Are we going to be hitting this 481 mark? My guess is that we're still going to be consolidating. It looks like everything's consolidating around this price point. So this seems to be the new normal, guys. I hate to be the one to tell you. How's the days on market? That's a good one. 904fish.com. All right, let's take a look. So days on market, that's a interesting statistic. It's definitely higher, right? I think let's show everything here. Show everything in northeastern Florida. There's going to be 2 days on markets. $41 days. Now, asterisk to this, right? 904fish.com. Days on market is the median number of days a property is active between the list date and the contract date reported in the closed month. So, homes that are actually selling, this is what their days on market is. 41 days. So they're going to the closing table. Now, let's see. I think they have another one here. Days on market pending, maybe. That's not right. I don't think they have the right graph on here. Pending sales, active inventory, month supply of inventory, unsold. This is also another good one to look at as well. So months of supply. So typically we don't see prices going down once we hit above this blue box here. So right now we're at 5.1. You can see months of supply jump pretty high in January, but it's gone down. What months of supply is months supply of inventory is the number of months it would take to sell through the available inventory at the current sales rate. So it's saying, hey, of all the homes that we have active on the market right now, if we stop putting homes on the market, it would take us 5 months to sell all these homes based on the current rate. So this is a balanced market, right? Here is a seller's market. This is all sellers. This is where sellers have the leverage. Here's where the buyers have the leverage up top. So I don't think they have the regular days on market. List to close day. So this is the median number of days between when a property is listed and the closing date, including non-active and active periods. I think this is more representative, right? So 83 days. So if you're selling your house, right, and you know that the median, if you're selling your house and you go past that 41 days, well, you essentially know that the market has rejected your property, right? So there's 2 reasons, right? Price or condition. It's either that your home is not in great condition, is not move-in ready, because who wants to buy a home that... Albus! Sorry, my dog is going nuts, and I just yelled. My wife's trying to put the baby to sleep. Sorry about that. It's a mess tonight. But either way, if you're trying to sell your house and you haven't sold past like the average days on market for a closed home, then you know that the market's rejected your property. So what this is telling us is that most of the homes that come on the market and are priced correctly and are also move-in ready are selling in 41 days. That's a quick time. That's not a short amount of time. So 904fish.com. Really appreciate that question. Any other questions like that? That's why we're here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I pull up the market stats. You can call me on whatever questions you have. I'm here. Oh, how cool would that be? Caller number 1. What if I did that? That'd be cool. I don't know. Anyone, I'd probably be left hanging. None of you guys would call. We got William Wells. Do you think if the Fed lowers rates by 50 basis points, it will ignite the real estate market? That is a very technical question, William, and I really appreciate that. It could. It could ignite the real estate market. Many real estate influencers, professionals, experts, whatever you want to call them, say that once the Fed lowers rates and we get below, we get to like 6.25%, 6%, that's going to unlock the real estate market for a ton of people. Me personally, I think it needs to be sub 6 for people to be like, oh man, this is exciting. Because if you want to buy a house and you're like, you know what, you look at it one day and you're like, payment's too high, and you're not thinking about it. It's just not in your mind frame, right? So like that takes me calling you and be like, hey, do you know rates went to 5.99% today? Then that might spur you to take a look, but it's not going to really push you, right? Maybe it would. For certain people, maybe William, because you're obviously informed, it would push you because you're like, oh, 5.99, that's way better than 7%. I'll take that. But a lot of people don't get it. They don't understand that. So it's funny. I do. The Fed potentially will lower rates, I think 25 basis points next month. They're talking about potentially doing a 50 basis point cut. Trump wants to lower them to 1%, right? So we'll see what happens there. But then that affects the 10-year Treasury, right? Which the 10-year Treasury and mortgage rates, they dance with each other. They're normally in sync. And for the past couple of years, they've been a little out of sync. So we're looking to close that gap. I do think that will signal a lot of strength to investors. And then also, here's the biggest thing, William. People will sell the news, right? They'll be like, hey, mortgage rates are down. This is amazing. You should go out and buy right now. I think that's going to be the biggest thing, where you look at the real estate market, you look at Florida, for example, right? If you're not from Florida, you're not living in Florida, you don't know what's going on in the real estate market, you would assume that Florida is in crisis mode, right? We have hurricanes hitting us, we have insurance issues, you can't get insurance policy, prices are dropping, but at the same time, prices are so expensive. You would assume that Florida's in a crisis, right? Now in my area, that's not the case. Homes are still selling every single day. People are still looking to move to the area. Nothing's really changed in our area, right? Everything's been the same. But when I talk to people, and I talk to a lot of people looking to relocate to the area, one of the first questions they say is like, hey, can you get an insurance policy there? How much is that insurance policy? And when I tell them like, yeah, insurance is really easy to get here in northeastern Florida. It's no problem at all. Oh, and by the way, it's $100 a month for homeowners insurance. They're blown away. They're like, wait, what? Like, how is that possible that it's $1,200 for a year, where you're seeing all these news stories of like homeowners insurance premiums being $5,000 to $10,000 a year? And that's because we're just, like I said, we're different, right? Northeastern Florida is different than South Florida. They're two different places, completely culturally and like weather-wise. Like, we don't get hit with hurricanes. We also get a little bit of a winter. South Florida is tropical. It's always hot, and it's always like going to be a metropolitan area. So, do I think? Yes, I should answer questions a lot easier. I go on tangents, William. I'm sorry, but yes, I do think if the Fed lowers rates by 50 basis points, it will ignite the real estate market. Not directly tied to interest rates, saying like, hey, it goes down 50 basis points, interest rates are going down to 6.25%, let's rock and roll. I think it's going to be more or less like people talking about it on the news that's going to get people excited. Because all we've seen for the past 2-3 years is Florida's in a crisis, whether it's a hurricane or it's an insurance problem or inventory climbing, one of those things. And yeah, inventory has climbed in our area, but it's not been a net negative so far, right? So I think it's a positive thing, honestly, because I did real estate. I was a buyer's agent on a team in 2020 and 2021. My life sucked. Okay, I didn't make any money. I probably made like 50 grand a year, right? That's not great as a real estate agent, because you also have a ton of expenses with that as well. But aside from that, like, I had a buyer. I'm going to tell you guys this story, and this is ridiculous. But I had a buyer who I showed him. He's a VA buyer. He bought in Palm Coast. I might have showed him 35 houses. 35 houses. The average is 8, by the way. 35 houses. I put in 6 offers for him. He finally got one, right? And closed on it. He was happy. He got into the house. And at closing, before we walk into the closing, he goes to me and he says, hey, Tom, you know where I can get any cocaine? Real story, okay? And I was like, no, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't know. This is Palm Coast, man. It's not Miami. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know where to get that kind of stuff. So either way, he left me a 4-star review because I didn't call him after closing. Like as a salesperson, I should call him and check up how he's doing. Even though I hand delivered him a pie for Thanksgiving, that doesn't count. Don't know why that doesn't count, but he left me a 4-star review, and it's like, bro, I did the job for you at the worst time it could have possibly been. I showed you 35 houses. They're only $300,000 houses, and aside from that, okay, so let's just game this out, guys, right? $300,000 houses. That's a 3% commission, $9,000 commission. I was on a team. That's a 50% split, so 50-50 with the team. So that goes from $9,000 to $4,500. Okay, and then I have to pay the brokerage. So that's a 70-30 split. So what is that? I don't know. I can't do the math right now, but let's say that's $1,500. So I walk away with $3,000. Oh, and then who else do I got to pay? I got to pay Uncle Sam. Oh, cool. Uncle Sam I got to pay. Oh, and then don't forget my time, my expenses, gas, all that kind of stuff. I lost money working with this guy, and then he left me a 4-star review. It's like, see if I call him today, right? But either way, let's go on. We got some more comments here. We got some more questions. Let's see. Jimmy Brownette, my man. Jack-o'-lantern, the light switch. Can you see it? You can't see the light switch. Jimmy, I appreciate your comments. I still don't know what you mean on every single comment you put out. Dinner time, it is. Yes, sir. You see me running and walking out here in West Augustine? Lorenzo, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, Marsh Creek Country Club. Speaking in tongues here, Jimmy. We got Tracy here. She laughed. I mean, that was supposed to be a funny story, guys. Looks like I lost some of you once I started talking about it. But either way, let's get on the news stories. I got things I got to do tonight, guys. Jimmy, Tracy, William Wells, and 904fish.com. Appreciate you guys for being here. On to the next news story. Okay, so we talked about more than half. All right. This is something I talked about last week, and I put a video out about it. Now... Okay, so Daily Mail wouldn't let me get into it. I'm not going to buy a subscription to Daily Mail. But it's America's oldest and most charming city, but locals can barely breathe as invisible crisis hits and house prices are plunging. Now, I can't read the full news story here, guys, but I can tell you that that's just not true. It's not. I did a video on it. There's an issue with Indian Head Biomass Facility here in St. Augustine. I live literally probably 2 miles from the facility. I don't smell a thing ever. Haven't had any issues. A lot of the neighborhoods that it's affected, I've put buyers in that have never said anything to me. I've had one buyer say something to me about it. House prices plunging, also not happening. So Daily Mail, not that I had any respect for it before, but I don't anymore. So we'll see. We'll see. Guys, any questions, let me know in the comments below. Oh, we got G-Abe or Gabe. What areas would you recommend for future investment that are south of Jax on the west side of the St. Johns River? Okay, that's easy. That's very easy, Gabe, or G-Abe. South of Jackson on the west side of St. Johns River. Orange Park, Middleburg, Palatka. All of them, Green Cove Springs. All of those areas are in the path of development. First Coast Expressway is running through all of them. It's going to be a huge highway that's going to connect I-10 and I-95. All of them over the past couple of years are building new construction homes for very affordable pricing. And on top of the affordable pricing, you're getting great interest rates because the builders are offering them, saying, here, you want a 3.99 interest rate? Here you go, take it. They're doing that still. And you're also getting a home for like $250,000, $350,000 over there, and a nice home at that. So if you're looking to invest in those areas, all those areas, I don't think you'll miss over the long run, right? I think you'll be able to do pretty well in that because once this big highway comes in, it's just going to bring more and more people through that area. So Green Cove Springs, Middleburg, Palatka, and I just said another one, Orange Park. Check out all of them. I lived in Orange Park for a little bit. I actually like the location of Orange Park. The only problem is when you got to go over Blanding. It's a nightmare. But the First Coast, that's a little far north of the First Coast Expressway, so it probably wouldn't help them there. But either way, Gabe, or G-Abe, appreciate you. Let's go on to the next question. Hope that helped. If it did, throw me a like or a comment or something. Tracy S., you lack the proper connection. For my Wi-Fi, probably. Yeah. So seems like something tapped out. But I'm supposed to be streaming to Facebook and Instagram right now. It's not connecting. I don't know why. So the show must go on. We got Jimmy back. The Captain Phillips movie. The movie Albert Einstein 1551-8 Dodge Warlock Golf Plus. Is that your like PlayStation handle, Jimmy? What is that? Come on. I don't even know what you're talking about. Captain Phillips movie is great. Badger Kitty 1551. Yeah, man. Sorry, I don't understand anything you're saying. You're speaking in a dialect I cannot get with. Got it. Thanks. Oh, okay. I see. Okay. You lack the proper connection. Not wireless connection, but cocaine connection. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not hooked up in that way. I don't do anything anymore. All right, Tracy, Jimmy, Gabe, we're gonna go on to the next news story here, guys. I got a couple more. I got to get a workout in tonight, and I got to drink a bunch of water. All right, let me go to my news stories here. This is an interesting one here. Florida condos are struggling. Could they be redeveloped? We talked about that. I don't want to go in the weeds with that. But essentially, new standards for building safety, coupled with skyrocketing insurance rates, have made condo life prohibitively expensive for some. Properties facing millions of dollars repairs, owners are contemplating whether homes are worth saving. Termination could be an exit strategy for some buildings that have been poorly maintained for many years where it's hard to catch up. The process involves selling a majority of the units to a developer who dissolves the condo association, tears the building down, and builds new. These deals can be lucrative, but they're also hard to close. Florida law requires 80% of owners to terminate a condo association, but just 5% can block it. Many associations have higher thresholds, some requiring 100% approval. So, this is my conspiracy mind goes out, right? And it's like, you wonder if this is done on purpose, right? To move, which you could probably say safely, like the majority of people that live in condos, the majority are probably on a fixed income, probably retired, looking for less maintenance, looking to push these people out so they can move in and take prime real estate and make it into luxury developments, right? It's my conspiracy theorist mind, guys. I don't know. But that's the goal, right? That's what they want to do because they want to salvage what that land could be aside from a condo that's dilapidating. What's the right answer? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what the right answer is. To me, it seems like they're going to put some legislation together, which at the end of the day, this was pretty much all caused by legislation. We already knew that we have hurricanes. We already know that we have insurance problems here. But then they made this sweeping legislation to all condo buildings in the state of Florida and added all these stipulations. So now condos are left holding the bag, and the government has kind of been they've been dragging their feet on it, right? DeSantis said back in March he was going to have an emergency session about it. Like, to me, like, I don't know, I like to get things done as soon as possible. How have we not figured out a solution? And it's been a crisis for 2 years now, right? So that's the power of government, guys. This is your tax dollars at work. I'm going to leave my thoughts out of it. It's useless. But either way, let's go on to the next news story, guys. What do you guys think about that? You think that's probably what they're trying to do with condos? I potentially think so. I don't think a lot of the condo buildings will move forward with something like that. But what do? Does maybe the state of Florida say, hey, we'll let you take out a loan backed by the state of Florida? That's probably one way to do it. Will the state of Florida do that? I don't know. They probably should. Otherwise, they just leave every resident of Florida holding the bag, or the condo owners. So, Jimmy Brownette, Jeepers Creepers the movie. Jimmy, I wonder what your angle is. Do you hate me? Do you love my content? I don't know. All right. He probably hates my guts. All right, next news story, guys. I think that's the last one that we got. Oh, no, we got two. We got two here, but they'll be quick. Okay. King Street Bridge replacement project in St. Augustine to begin in 2026. Now, if you guys have been a follower for the show for a long time, they were supposed to do it this year. I'm positive of that. I remember covering it last year because they were going to start work in October of 2025. And I said, that makes literally no sense considering we have Night of Lights starting in November. And Night of Lights is one of the biggest tourist attractions of our area. But now it's pushed to 2026, or at least I believe it is, and it's going to begin in January. So this is the bridge in question. This is San Sebastian Winery over here. This is actually the new AC Hotel that they're building back here. But they have a rendering here where, of course, you can't see this rendering. Let's see if I can zoom in on it a little bit. Flagler College dorms here, San Sebastian over here. You got Foxtail Coffee over here. So this is the rendering of what it's going to be. They're going to add some decorative lights. They're also going to expand the bridge and make it a little bit wider. This is supposed to be a 10-foot sidewalk here. This is supposed to be a 6-foot sidewalk here. They were also supposed to, and then 2 11-foot lanes on either side. This looks like a lot more. But they're also supposed to throw a bike lane in here as well. How they're going to fit all that in one little spot, I have no clue. But what do you guys think about that? They're going to wait till January, though. So Nights of Lights should be past its peak. And last two weeks of the year is when it's like the craziest. So it's probably a good plan. They say it's going to take them 12 months to finish it. So they'll be ending. They'll still have to go through Night of Lights, but maybe they'll speed it up a little bit. But if anyone knows road construction here in St. Augustine, that's a 3-year project. I wouldn't put it past them to make it a 3-year project. We'll see. We'll see. We got Dave here. What's up, Dave? What do you call standalone condos? It's like a house, but the external building and grounds are maintained by the condo association. Do we have any of these around Sta? What do you call standalone condos? So, I don't think we have. I think I understand what your question is. Typically, these are, townhomes, right? You're talking about a single family home, not touching anything, no party walls. If you're talking about that, not something I'm familiar with here in northeastern Florida, outside of a 55 plus community, an active adult community. For example, going on Saturday with a couple who are going to look into Trailmark Reverie, or not Trailmark, Silverleaf Reverie, which is Reverie is Dreamfinders, which is Dreamfinders, a big national builder. It's their 55 plus, their active adult brand is Reverie. So they're putting a Reverie inside of Silverleaf, also a Reverie inside of Trailmark. It's already been there for years. The one in Silverleaf is more new. In Silverleaf, the fees altogether I think are about $400 a month, which you're like, dang, that's high. But they cover everything on the outside. Cover your pest control, your lawn care, all that kind of stuff. Do they cover the roof and the siding? I don't believe so. So if you're asking about that, I don't believe so. Some 55 plus communities do though. So it just depends. A lot of the times we see that with villas. Now villas are essentially, think of a duplex. Now you think of a duplex, you think of side by side, you think of 2 stories. Villas are 1 story, right? But they still have a party wall. So a lot of times with the villas, they'll have a higher HOA fee, but everything's covered, right? The roof is going to be covered, the siding and the painting of the siding is going to be covered, the grass, the bushes, all that's going to be covered under that HOA fee. So, in a way, they do have something like you're talking about. I hope that answered your question. I know that, once again, roundabout answer. But yeah. Purple Rain. Jimmy, I don't know, man. Your comments, if you hate me, the comments are helping me out because YouTube just sees the algorithm like, man, this guy's getting a ton of comments. Let's go. So I appreciate you, Jimmy, but if you hate me, I don't know if you're doing a good job. Dave, got it. Good summary. Awesome, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dave. All right. Last news story, guys, and this one's kind of a fun one. We'll end on a fun one. Any questions about what we covered here throughout everything, let me know. Now, I covered this a couple months ago, but the Magic Beach Motel faces a wrecking ball. 2 businessmen want its large neon sign. So, if you've been to Volano Beach, you've seen this neon sign here, the Magic Beach Motel. It's kind of an iconic sign, and one of the things that happened with the Magic Beach Motel is that the person who owns it wanted to destroy it and sell it to a developer so that they can put condos there. And the local community was pissed. They were like, no, this is like a landmark in St. Augustine. We don't want that. Now, I do get that. I get like, hey, we need to preserve history in a way, right? But at the end of the day, if it's someone's personal property that they own, an outside person telling me what I can do with my personal property, I don't like that at all. So it's one of those odd situations, right? Either way, it was fought for a couple months, and they've ultimately said like, hey, he can go ahead and he can demolish the motel and build condos with the developer there. Now, two businessmen here in town want the neon sign. So if you're familiar with Pesca or Michael Steakhouse or La Nouvelle, that is Michael Lugo, who is like a locally famous chef here in town. All of his restaurants are fantastic. He wants it to put on top of the hotel. He wants it at the rooftop bar, just to put that sign up there. He's like, I don't even know if I can do it. I don't know if the city will let me do it. At the end of the day, it'd be visible for miles, and people could see it coming over the bridge, and probably won't let him do that. I'm just guessing, just based on how conservative St. Augustine is. But another business owner who owns Planet Sarbez and also owns Mugsy's, and I think his name's Ryan. I think I've met him one time at like a community thing. Yeah, Ryan Kunch, and I might have butchered your last name, Ryan, there. Sorry. I love both the bars that he has open. Sarbez is amazing. It's like an arcade bar, and Mugsy's is like the neighborhood bar here. It's a sports bar. Just got rated like the #1 sports bar in St. Augustine, but it's like a 10-minute walk from my house, so I like that as well. It's also just a cool little spot. Either way, he wants the sign too, so that he can probably integrate it in Sarbez or into Mugsy's over here, or maybe into his new spot. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that would be really cool. But the person who also owns that development, Magic Beach Motel, says that, like, and he was trying to work with the city, like, hey, I don't want to completely destroy the memories people have of the Magic Beach Motel and this beautiful neon sign. I want to integrate it into the condos, right? So he was trying to work with it. People weren't having it. It was a weird situation. Either way, looks like it's all sold. So it's all going to happen. It's getting demolished. So we'll see. But guys, that is it. Dave, we got Dave here. We got Jimmy. We got Tracy. We got G. Abe. We got one more, I think. I'm sorry, I don't want to leave anyone out. William Wells and 904fish.com. Guys, appreciate you all with all of your questions, all of your comments. Here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. going to the market stats, news you need to know about, everything about buying, selling, or investing here in northeastern Florida. And we're also doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions, doing the answers here live. So, appreciate you guys being here. Hope it was valuable for you. Until next week, I'll see you.